Okay, well, welcome everybody. My name is Carl Ott, current president of Dallas Personal Robotics Group. Today is Saturday, November 14th, and in our regular monthly meeting here, what we're going to do is have a update from member Ron Grant on the line following simulator environment that he's written, which will be the basis of probably the bigger of the contests that we'll have in a virtual contest in December 12th, just a month's time. So we'll do that. And then after that, we'll have a discussion with Donna Smith, representing the Seattle Robotics Society, about some cross-club activities. And then after that, whoever would like to, if anybody's in a stock or would like to try and install processing in the line following simulator, we will be glad to help with screen shares and get you going. So with that in mind, I'm going to switch off this microphone and camera and switch to the other machine and let Ron just take it away with an update on line following simulator. Take it away, Ron.
Okay. Hello, everyone. And let me go ahead and switch the screen share, or sorry, I'll present here. Let's see. And let me know when you see my screen, I guess. Should say line following simulator.
It's up and visible.
Okay, great. Okay, this is the most recent incarnation of line following simulator, and it is locked down. No new features will be added. I will resist the temptation. And let's see, we have a title screen. Let me get rid of the title screen. Oops, and I'm not. 1 second. Okay, this is the familiar challenge course, but since I'm running the simple bot, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and move to the course that this robot will or can follow to completion. So let me go ahead, and we have a new user interface. We do have the existing single key codes available via the key menu, and that looks just like it did or should be, with a few changes, except a few features have been added. So really, single keystroke is still available, but I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the GUI because I just find it a little easier to work with, and it has a few features that aren't present with the single character keys. Anyway, so here. Let me go ahead and get the more complicated. Well, let's start with this course because this will make it easy to illustrate the time warp feature. And so I'm going to go ahead and click the robot into the marker, and that feature has been present for a while. We define a marker, and it assumes the heading for that marker and the position. And then if we go this contest, one of the recent additions is the automated lap timer for lap contests, and a few sound effects, but that's the normal run speed of the simulator. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you a new feature, which is the time warp. So in order to do that, what we'll do is we'll click on time warp, and I'll go ahead and put it in a looping mode also, and then it will ignore the lap. It'll just do infinite laps. So if we start, there you can see the robot's running very fast. In fact, let me bring up the parameter editor, and I'm going to go ahead and turn down the opacity of the robot. I've put these two items in the parameter editor as pre-cooked. You could keep them or delete them or whatever, but I kind of found it handy when I'm looking at a high-speed run of the robot to go ahead and make the robot more transparent. So let me go ahead and I'll crank the time warp up even a bit more. So now we're running, if you look up in the upper right-hand corner, we're running 25,000 steps per second. Previously, you'd be running around 100 max. Now everything is being performed just as it was. There's no difference in running time warp. We just get to see the robot run the simulation faster. And this has a particular application where we can, if we're tuning the robot, we can see the results instantly for an entire run. In fact, this image here is not being updated at nearly the rate that the robot is actually being given sensor information and having its position updated. So in fact, I'll hover over this, or we have a key for this. I can dim the robot view down so we don't have to see that. It's a little distracting. In fact, I'll dim the course down also.
Okay, so Ron,
Yes.
just to make sure I understand what you said. So do I understand right that what's going on under the covers now is that the simulator is computing robot steps at now top right corner, 25,000 steps per second.
Right.
But you're only updating the screen. You're only sampling and presenting to the screen every what? Every 1/60th or so?
Yeah, or somewhere in there, 60th to 100th. But and previously I was relying on a direct image of the relying on the GPU to give me an image that then I would download to the CPU and then perform the sensor analysis and then feed that to the simulator. Well, now it's all being done on the CPU. It seems contrary to what you might think. So the CPU alone is able to outperform the GPU in this case. So anyway, the behavior is identical as far as I can tell. Implementing this, there's no difference. But the neat thing is as we change tuning parameters, and we'll also look at the opposite side of this, which is running slower. For the most part, running slower is handy. The single step and all those features are still there. But let me bring the parameter editor up. And as we can say, as I adjust, in this case, a PD controller is being used to steer the robot. And as I adjust the parameters, well, you can see failure happens here. So when I completely shut down the PD controller, the robot never alters its trajectory. So it's ignoring the line, the error. But as we increase it, we get to see, there's a region of stability here. And it turns out that really there's just a lower limit for this. But if we switch to a different course, we'll see some different behaviors. And then of course, max speed, for example, there's a point of failure here too. But it's pretty interesting that instead of waiting, and you can see the lap time is 5 seconds for this course. But let's pick a more complicated course. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do a course select. Okay, this one, we should be able to get this to follow. And hang on, let's see if we come in here and bring up my parameter editor. And let's see, wait a sec. Oh, I may have crashed it, wait a minute. Let me, hang on. Let me get my parameters back. Oh, I'll set the defaults, that's what I'll do. I'll use the Control A, which this was broken, but now fixed. Let's see, go. Okay, now let's time warp this. And now let's loop it and time warp it. Okay, now let me go back and hide my robot and crank up our speed. And so now, as we tune the parameters, you can see there's a point of failure, but the lap times are on the order of a minute for this course. So you'd be waiting a minute to watch the robot perform, where here we can turn the knobs and see the results in fraction of a second. So I think it's a really cool feature and something you definitely want to play with. But you don't have to. It's an optional feature, and it's just there to be experimented with. But I find it gives me some really great enjoyment in tinkering with the controller. So anyway, let me go ahead.
Multiple circles, starting points or something?
Yes, those are markers, and in fact, I can kind of demo those. Let me turn the course intensity up a little bit. Let's bring it back up. Let's see, hang on, here we go, dim course. And this is a cyclic thing, by the way. So if you just keep clicking this control, there we go. There's a reasonable intensity. Okay, and I'll bring the robot opacity back up so we can see that. So the way the markers work is if you click on a marker, it takes the robot to that memorized position. And if you press, and you got two choices. You can click here, or if you're used to the old menu, you can press M. And by the way, some of these actually kind of have bolded letters, so you can tell M for marker. So I could press M on the keyboard to do the same thing as I do by clicking here. But if we place the robot on a marker and press marker, it erases the marker. But if we want to have a start position, so we position the robot, and then if, as you recall, in the original definition and also in the help screens, it talks about how to position your robot, which, by the way, all the help information is there, including, how to position the robot, including hold down the right mouse button and drag horizontally to change heading. Okay. And this is a little weird in that you do have to press help repetitively to get it to cycle through the help. So anyway, so once it's gone, okay, so we can drag it with left mouse button, and then with right mouse button, I can steer it. So let's say I want to set this up to start running at this point. So I get it there, and then I can click M or marker button, and now the marker is set. And the cool thing also is, I'll show another feature. Well, first, let's just start from the marker. So if we click on the marker, and there it is, and I say go, then, whoops, let me turn off time warp. Sorry about that. Stop, click again. Okay, let's say go. Now, the interesting thing here is in the old days, if I wanted to run the robot up to a point of failure, let's say the sine wave causes the robot to fail, and I'm not sure why. Well, one of the cool things about time warp is we can actually drop a marker close to the point of failure. And in this case, it doesn't really care about the orientation I choose for the robot. It's just going to know that that marker is a position that I can go to. So if I start back over here, I can say go to marker, and what'll happen is the robot will time warp. Now, one problem that we do have that's worth a mention is if I have too aggressive of a time warp, it's likely to overshoot it. Let's give it a try. See, it overshot my marker. So this is a case, and this is something that can be cured, but I'll be happy to hold off on curing that problem. If we just go to our parameter menu, I'm going to crank down my time warp to something more reasonable. And let's try it again. So now we'll do go to marker, and let me think. I think if I've clicked on that as the starting marker, it should just do it automatically. There we go. Yeah, so, oh, by the way, the last marker we click on is the one that it's the starting point. So anyway, so if we come in here, again, go to marker, time warps to that marker, and then what happens is the robot enters a freeze mode. In fact, all these buttons, by the way, as I cruise over them, have hints. So here, this is the hint here is place marker, when stop, location marker, place erase, when stop, location marker, when running via go. Oh, that's not very descriptive. Oh, that's the marker, I'm sorry. The go marker says go until, near marker using time warp, then clear time warp and freeze. Then, for example, press 1 to 9 to proceed, or 0 to single step. Okay, so the robot is actually in a frozen state, and I can press the space bar, for example, to advance it. Oops, I'm sorry. That freezes and unfreezes. Let's try that again. I'm going to go back to go marker. And now let me also make the robot view more bright here. Let's see. Hang on. Okay, so with that brightened, now what I want to do really is if I want a single step, I'll press 0. And now I'm single stepping. Or let's go very slow. I'm going, let's see, 7. And now, let's say somewhere in here I'm puzzled about what the robot's doing. Let's say that it steered off course. Well, now I can freeze it. And in particular, if I have comments that my controller is saying it thinks it sees this or that, I could then carefully analyze that case. But the neat thing is, we did not have to drive or wait for the robot to get to this point in order to study this point, if that makes sense. So in other words, the time elapsed was 26 seconds to get there. Well, that's 26 seconds you're saved, because now you're able to progress at a snail's pace or whatever pace you want to progress at to analyze a situation like that. And it's actually Will who gave me that suggestion. Thanks, Will, if you're here. Anyway, that's the go to marker.
And Ron, I guess from where I see it, that can be pretty handy, because sometimes the robot will do well or do worse, better or worse, entering a feature like that S-curve, depending on where the starting point was way back and earlier in the course.
Right, right.
So
Yeah,
this lets you always start from the same position, and if you drop the marker down, then you can enter slowly into the troublesome area, and then try different starting points later on.
yes, well said, Carl. Yeah, because right now it does look almost the same for me to click there. Of course, I've got sort of a different heading there, and then I could say go. It was able to, it's stable enough to handle that feature. But yeah, that's a great example of, yeah, this may be different than starting from here, even though it looks about the same. And in some cases, if you've recorded state information, then your robot will have that intact when you go to marker there. Just because, again, the time warp doesn't do anything different other than just runs the steps faster. All the steps are there. They're just executed, more quickly in the time warp mode. So anyway, that's one of the big features of time warp. And I'm trying to think anything else we've got. Those are the big features. But the program remains the same. A few changes have been made. There was the sliders didn't track the mouse very well, although I did opt to go with an adjustment where if you accidentally click over here, it doesn't jump to that point. If I press the mouse down here and I move it, notice the control is only adjusted as I move the mouse. So if I accidentally click here, no problem. It prevents you from having radical changes when you click on items. So I'm thinking that's a nice way to operate a control. And of course, there is the ability to default, like pick if you're on this control, and for now it's no buttons to click. You still have to do a Control D. So that click the default for that. Icon opacity, Control D. It was fully opaque by default. So anyway, that's the big deal with the program. And of course, we do have the automated lap timer, which is handy. And of course, the ability to run contests really by turning time warp on or off. And another thing is you don't have to necessarily have a very aggressive time warp to sort of enjoy the feature. For example, I can actually use it during a contest run. And a lot of features are grayed out during contest runs. But here we go, we're running, but I can kick it into time warp. And then I could kick it out of time warp. And since this is a lap course, this one is run 3 times. So let's just finish it up quick. And there we are, and a little more improved over the key menu, although I've made that make a little more sense. But here it says, before continuing, report, where it saves the data and takes a snapshot, or cancel, and don't do any of that. So we'll go ahead and save that. And there it is, contest run logged. Okay, what I'll do now is we'll take a look at the code and see what's new or different.
Hey, Ron, before that,
Yes.
can you show where in the file system it saves that report and the snapshot?
Yes. Okay, let me bring up, so here's your sketch, and or this sketch. And this is actually Simplebot, but I was playing with giving it the ability, and I thought maybe this would be a nice topic. I was giving it a crude ability to handle reverses on the course. Nothing very fancy, but anyway, so this is a slight modification to that demo. But let's see. Yes, Carl asked about where things are being saved. If we go to Sketch and then go to Show Sketch Folder, which I keep my sketches typically just in the root. In fact, when I download processing, I like to set it up to put my sketches in the root directory, but you can accept their default if you like. And I'd highly recommend creating a shortcut to the sketches folder and putting that on your desktop. I think that's real handy. So in other words, when we're here, to go ahead and, and create when we're here in the root, right click and create a shortcut and then stick that on the desktop. And that's just kind of handy thing to have, but easily found when it's in the root. Okay, so let's get back here. And in fact, I'll close this and let's go back and repeat. So sketch, show sketch folder, and here you'll see the snapshot. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And so there's the snapshot that was taken of the course run, and we can see each of the lap times are virtually identical. And of course, really in a lap contest, you could consult the lap counter and make even perhaps adjustments to some of your parameters in order to have different run times. But that's just sort of an optional thing out there and not a big deal. Okay, so there's the snapshot that was taken, sort of the photo finish. And then in our data folder, we'll find a contest common delimited file, and I'll go ahead and just edit that with I've got Notepad Plus, but you can edit with Notepad. And here you can see a number of runs I've done, some with different courses. But here's the latest one we ran, and in fact, it shows the total time and the course that was used. But then also subsequently each lap is reported as far as the lap times, and again the course name, and of course your robot name and your name that you set in your user init. Oh yes. Must be somebody's phone perhaps. Okay, let's see. So that's that, and I'll close out of that folder. And here's our sketch. And again, what's really constant, or has been now, is, or not constant, but what's changed are the LFS tabs. And one of the more recent things is I made the main tab such that it probably will not get tinkered with at all. And this tab, the thing is, this carries your robot name. And it's kind of convenient that this tab is so simple that I wouldn't expect it to change. There may be something in the future, though, further ahead where there's some different options. But what this really is now is a kind of it's a skeleton of a processing sketch. It encompasses the setup method that's called by processing initially, but really all I have here is using their frame rate set command, and then actually calling out to LFS code. And a nice thing too is if we come in here, remember we can always right click and we can go to a declaration, or we can find the usage. But if we jump to declaration, it'll take us to what really is the setup for the program. And that's a very nice feature, with processing, is the ability to do things, as far as to right click and either see usage, and if I do that, I need to drag that in, but it creates a little window, and then you can click on all the locations that referenced it, including, we'll see right there that says void might be hard to read. That one actually takes us to where, a method was declared. So very helpful for anything declared within the sketch. But anyway, new is this tab, and this is the definition of the GUI buttons and so forth. And really, that's not, you don't need to mess with this, other than if you want to mess with a few of the global variables that are set here, like some initial values, show sensors. In fact, this one's controllable by button. I'll show that. Carl had an interest there in hiding his sensors from the world that he was running on his robot. And here are some initial values for the dimming of the screen. And I do have a problem with the blowing the robot. If it jumps out of bounds, I'd set that to false now. And if it's enabled in your demo, I'd probably set it to false, because it can create a little weirdness as far as the robot being scaled wrong. And other than that, there's a few things. You can disable sound if you're just annoyed by it. You can disable it, but I have added a mute button now. So really, you can mute it without having to dig into code. So anyway, beyond that, what's new here is the definition of the graphical user interface, all the buttons. But I've also provided a user function, or some user functions to allow you to access buttons if you want to add buttons to your application. Again, that's an optional thing you don't need to mess with. So really, at the end of the day, all your LFS tabs are part of the LFS application framework that you don't need to mess with. So when we get to the other tabs, The important ones are the ones named with the user prefix, including first user init, and that's where you do the setup that defines your sensors, defines your name, robot name. There's a list of courses. You can pick which one you want to load first. For example, this robot is really more suitable for loading the challenge course and not the advanced. So let me make it start with that instead of having to Control C or use the GUI button to toggle through there. And then we have a lap number of laps. That's something you could set if you're running lap courses. And if not, it's not a big deal. You could set it to 1. It'll run 1 lap of the course. A lot of these I set up as lap courses. The challenge course is not, although I even set it up as a lap course for some of my tests. But anyway, let's see, what else do we have? Other things, the default time step, that's usually not messed with. Something you may be interested in working with are the acceleration, deceleration rates. So those settings, and again, this tab is, I want to say, as far as I know, hasn't been messed with since we added the icon information. And there is an optional thing here, which is to set the threshold of the crumb spacing. And again, that's optional, so it doesn't matter. If you don't have that call in your code, doesn't matter. And the user reset hasn't changed much.
Ron?
Yes?
Excuse me, can we go back to the user init for a second?
Yes, sure, Carl.
Yeah. Where you have the max acceleration and speeds,
Yes.
excuse me, so.
Those are subject to, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sure, no. So if I remember right, and yeah, there's the max, yeah, so accelerations are there in the middle of the screen, and the max speed, max turn rate are towards the bottom.
Right.
So if I've understood, these are, the idea is that these are the numbers that, for however we've picked at them, they seem to be the constraints that we're going to apply to all robots in the contest, right?
No. Okay, these are your own, and they're subject to the maximums. Yeah, so the maximums are actually published on the help screen. Okay, yeah, you're allowed to mess with these subject to limitations. It would be nice to change these with a comment to say what those maximums are. But just real quick, let's fire up the application. And so if we go to help, and anyway, we toggle through, here you go. LFS simulator impose maximum and minimum values. So here you can see, yeah, it'd be nice to have those in the comments. But here are the maxes: 36 inches a second, max turn rate, 720 degrees or 2 rotations per second. And the only one I regret, but it's been left alone from day one, is this is a little bit low. The turn acceleration rate is set to that rate per second. So in other words, it takes a full second to accelerate up to 720 degrees per second. If I've got that right. Yeah, that would be right? So acceleration times time to a rotational turn rate, yeah, that'd be 1 second. So that's kind of a long time to get up to that speed. And Chris, I think, pointed out too, that was a little depressing to him. But anyway, in the future, we might consider bumping that acceleration rate up. But again, that's been untouched since version 1.
So those maximums there on the help screen, those are the limits that we're subject to within the contest.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I should, that would be a good thing to extract. Sorry, we can't cut and paste since this is being drawn as an image, but we can locate that information. We can get that published.
Yeah,
but
explain
anyway,
it to people.
Okay.
And we are here in the call anyhow, so that's okay.
Okay, so that's that. Great. Okay, I'll go ahead and go back to the code.
And then, because that gives the constraints for all contestants, but then as you design your robot, you're free to go adjust within that and set the values lower.
Correct.
Or higher.
Correct.
But if you set them higher, they'll be limited by the constraint for the contest.
Right. It'll give you a warning on your console screen. But it won't allow exceeding those values.
Cool.
So yeah,
Thanks.
that is a time when I think it does tell you what the maximums are. It would be a nice thing though, maybe before we lock this thing down, maybe we could go ahead and put those, write those down here, since like Simplebot is often cloned by people. It would be nice to see right in front of you what the published maximums were. But again, we can do that separately. Maybe publish it with the contest guidelines.
Yeah, do it that
Okay.
way. Add it to the tickler list for later.
Okay. With that said, Carl, actually you can seek it probably in, you could probably do a search for that text and find it, I'm guessing under, let's see, LFS panel, I think. I'm just going to real quick. Yeah, here you see all the text, and I'll bet you we'll find that. Let's see. Might be up higher. Wait a minute. I guess I should have looked for, let's see, hang on. Oh, here you go. Oh, no. It's not even, okay, it is, it's fished out of the, from the physical simulator. Okay, I'll get you a list. But anyway, these, we could actually print these to the console or whatever. Okay, anyway, that's that. So that's where those, but they come from LFS, from the library code. And the goal is, yeah, please don't tinker with those values or change them. Then you'd be violating the constraints of the contest. So anyway, and they, by the way, they can't be set. You'd have to go into the code and physically alter it. So anyway, or changed. Okay, so there's all your basics. Now, user reset, complexity was added there, and I'm suggesting that probably this feature not be followed. And what the feature was is originally this current robot state. The goal of this was to be able to preserve state such that you could shut the program down, come back, click on a special state marker, and your variables that you defined here, actually anywhere from here's sample temporary value, but let's say you had a number of controller value variables defined, they would physically get saved out to disk, and it would allow you to recover the state of your robot. But now with time warp, I highly recommend probably ignoring this feature and all the complexities. And I think it takes up two pages of the manual talking about this. And I don't think it's necessary now with time warp. So you're spared that need to publish your controller state here. One kind of cool thing about it, though, is any variables published here are visible in the demo, and just for fun, I'll show you that. So if we go to the help screen, well, I'll start the robot run and let's see. Okay, so now I'm going to go to help. And, oh, no, I'm sorry, it's on the panel, not, okay, tab to the panel. And here we have a variety of state markers. And let's see, I'm puzzled, wait a sec. It doesn't look like we're actually updating those at the moment. Okay, I'm a little puzzled about this, but I won't go into that. But the cool thing here is that this report is actually generated using variable names, and you never had to write any extra code. So if you notice here, this stuff here is the same as what you're seeing here. And the cool thing is using a facility of Java, you didn't have to write any extra code. I sort of took care of that, where all these variable values are actually published to that screen at runtime. But okay, so much for that. So that's one thing that got fooled around with, but in theory, not really. So, and of course, the purpose of this is to have a place for you to reset your variables, which nothing's been doing. In this simple example, let's see. Oh, well, actually, I'm wrong. Okay, so here's the method: user controller reset and run. So this is called every time you press G or go or run contest. And in here, in this controller, almost nothing was really used for robot state. This is the only variable which happened to be the previous difference in error. So that's the only one. It'd be nice if a comment was there, but no comment. Okay, so those are the tabs. And then, of course, your user controller has remained the same. In this case, I was playing around a little bit, but in our example here, the same code that's always been there, where you read the sensor, and then one thing that was, then act on the sensor information. Now, one thing, and maybe it's for the future, is it's kind of handy to update your sensors while the controller isn't active, but it's an option. You can just go with the code how it is, but it's kind of cool, and I'll show you when the controller isn't active in the distribution version. As we move the robot, those sensors won't change. But right now, because every screen update, I'm calling the method that does update the sensor colors, we get to see that. But in the case of the real world, what you'd have to do is enable the controller. So I could turn the controller on, and then I could always freeze it with the space bar, and then the sensors would work. So sometimes it's handy to see how they behave, as you show at different parts of a course. But that's just sort of another fun thing to play with. So anyway, so that's that. I think that's about it. Any questions?
Ron?
Yes, Donna.
Yeah. So one thing that you talked about when I think it was to do with your development environment, you'd mentioned about using the GPU at one point, and then that you transfer to the CPU. Now, is that something that we, as user, controller, developer code, is that something that we need to take into consideration for our development box, that we need to be utilizing a GPU?
No, it's transparent.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, if anything, it helps folks who have a lower power GPU. Now, one thing that does require some GPU power is the contest course is loaded into the GPU memory. So it probably needs to be a fairly modern GPU or graphics card, because the course, which is about 50 megapixels, I think that would translate to probably 4 bytes per pixel, so a couple hundred megabytes. And I think almost any graphics card made in the last 5 years probably has a gigabyte of memory on it. And anyway, so that aspect of that's really the only aspect of the GPU that's used, which is to go ahead and make pictures for us to see, like that robot view. That is, that the graphics, the GPU is asked to make that picture for us. But really, and what enables this whole thing to run faster is the acquisition of the sensor data from, I'll get my presentation off here. Let's see. Oh, the acquisition of the sensor data from the image, from the course image, isn't that difficult to do. And so the same code really that was used to extract it from a GPU produced image is being used now just to extract it from a bitmap out in CPU memory. And at the end of the day, it's fully transparent to the user and to the robot. But what happens is that process can just happen so much faster if you want it to. And really the trick to the time warp is, well, originally the whole process was let the GPU paint a picture of the course in the current robot position, and then go transfer that into the memory and fish out the sensor data, and then hand it to you, the controller writer, give you your sensor information. You act, you say how fast you want the robot to go. It then takes that and integrates all that information over a period of, we'll say, a 60th of a second, gets new location of robot, then draws the picture again and does that in the loop. But now what we can do is the picture drawing, it's nice to keep that running at maybe 30 to 60 times a second, so we can see what's going on. But really that loop of read stuff from the image, give it to you, you make your decisions, you tell it how fast the robot's going. That all is done in a tight loop, and that's really what the time warp multiplier is. When it's set to 50, it's doing 50 updates per showing you a picture of it. And your controller is just works on the sensor data, doesn't care about what the pictures on the screen look like. Does that make sense? In other words,
Well, I think it does, but the main, okay, so that's a great description, but for myself, I'm using a little bit older development laptop.
right,
And I mean, it's a Windows 7 HP
right,
box. And what
okay,
concerns me is if I've got a modern enough of a graphics card in it.
oh, well,
I'm suspecting that I might not. And I don't, in my development workshop room, I don't. That's the latest and greatest that I've got for
okay. Well,
PC hardware.
the thing to do is give it a whirl.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be the thing. I have, yeah, unfortunately, I do have a laptop. I have a Windows, probably XP laptop hanging around. I have a Windows 10 laptop, and that's done good, and it doesn't really have much of a GPU involved with it. So, that'll be interesting.
I tried it on a couple of versions ago, LFS. I tried it on a 2012 Lenovo X1, so it's a little nicer laptop, but it's still 8 or 9 years old with a whopping 8 gigabytes of RAM, and it still did just fine. And I'm sure, and that was before Time Warp. So I would second Ron's suggestion to just give it a try because
Yeah.
it's a
And
quick
yeah,
download and it'll work or not.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing that would be interesting. Let's see. Well, yeah, let's find out if it works. I know I have my buddy Will has a computer, and it was taking a long time to load. Let's see. My computer will load the application and have it. You're looking at the image in 4 seconds. It's taken his machine 45 seconds, but his frame rates were good, but it took a long time to load, and that puzzles me. The bitmap is only a megabyte for the challenge course, and I can't believe it was a load time, but something caused his machine to take a long time to get it up as far as the display. And I forgot to ask him what kind of frame rates he was able to get. But that's a great thing about the Time Warp, really, is having it set even on a modest multiplier. It takes a great load off the computer, really. And previously, the thing that, in fact, what really prompted me to get into this is I was getting 500 frames a second of graphics pictures, but as soon as I asked for that information to be transferred to the CPU so I could do the sensor analysis, my frame rates dropped to 170. And I thought, wait a second, it's taken that long to get that image into the computer. And I thought, why am I even asking the GPU to do this at all? So at the end of the day, really, it's only really being used to produce the pictures that are getting displayed on the screen. So anyway, Donna, I know I'm kind of going on here, but it would concern me if you would have difficulty, or we couldn't run this on, let's say, even maybe a Raspberry Pi would be a good thing to be able to do. In such case, we might be able to make it happen without needing even the GPU requirements that I have now. In other words, the bulk of the simulator doesn't even care. It doesn't even need, but we want to see the pretty pictures. But if you think about it, the course view, that could be drawn and then really not redrawn as I do now. It gets redrawn every frame. And the robot sensor view is only really needed if you're carefully looking at what's going on with your robot, like a single step type thing. And for normal running, it's almost useless. It's fun to see. But for single step, it's critical that you want to be able to watch, where the sensors are and where the line is and all that. Okay, so anyway, gets me thinking. But let's get you fired up and get the thing loaded. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah. And what I'll do when I complete some tests that way, I'll send an email on the distribution list and let everybody know the results on this machine. Okay.
Great.
That'd be great.
Well, cool. Well, thanks, Ron. So any other questions about just the overview part of this thing?
Hey,
Okay, so
Ron, I see quite a few examples. Which one is the best one? Okay.
Well, that's good. I'll tell you the best. It's hard to say. Will's example is quite complicated, and he does do some very complicated sensor processing. But personally, I like SimpleBot because SimpleBot does well. SimpleBot will follow the advanced course. So play with SimpleBot, and the only thing about SimpleBot is it has a pretty dumb line sensor, and that line sensor is that you'll see it in the code. What it does is it just looks at the whole sensor and then calculates a centroid. And so it assumes only one line intersection with the array of pixels there. The curved line thing I think is pretty cool, but there may be better options. The other thing is, let's see, so really that does good. I'll tell you, the controller works good in that. So the controller does good with tracking, but what you need is a better understanding of multiple intersections with the sensor, in this case the arc, and maybe adding a few more arcs or lines or whatever. But in that case, so that demo is pretty handy. One for the fact that it uses a line sensor, and you can see, if you're not familiar with Java, I find it terribly a pain even now. I always reference old code. I'd be hard pressed to properly code how to initiate or instantiate an array or whatever, or I Google things. Now I'm getting probably warmed up pretty good. But anyway, I think the example code is real handy for that aspect.
I see. You mentioned this, when I drag the robot around, I can see where the detected, the sensor sees, what the sensor sees with the live update. Where is the code that draws? I see this red dot. I mean, I'm looking at the simple code, right? So.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, where's that code?
Okay, if you look in the user controller tab, user con, you'll find there's code that is there to color the sensors, and it is executed every step through the
set color.
Yeah, there you go. And it's up to you. If you would delete all that code, the sensor just stays green on the page. But you still can read the sensor and get all the data but now you got the option. And for example, one possibility would be, okay, let's say you define a spot, and that is, let's say it's 50 by 50 pixels. It's a big spot. Well, you got the option. When you read that, you get one value from 0 to 1, from black to white. But you could do things like, well, we could actually display that as a grayscaled pixel if we wanted to, or what maybe is more important is if we set a threshold, like we say, well, we got a threshold at 0.2 or 0.8, you set your color according to that, and it helps you see, that gives you feedback, like, oh yeah, below 0.2 is yellow or whatever. So it gives you that feedback that you're understanding the sensor data, because it's then being shown up on the screen, sort of thing. So anyway.
Ron, I found that helpful because I changed the colors on the sensors so that they give a little more contrast.
Okay.
So instead of green, like I used yellow and then red. So yep. And then I narrowed it down so that there's just one pixel wide to match my sensor.
Right.
Because I have relatively big sensors. So that I found it really handy to have that, the ability to make the sensors view as you'd like to.
Okay.
From your own personalized robot view.
Great. Another thing that's kind of cool too is if you get into the sensors, when you define them in your user init, and you have you create the sensors and you specify the XY locations. The cool thing is there's a function that lets you you can set the position of the sensor, and in the case of spot sensors, this is with respect to the robot, and it's explained in the demo. But the thing I did is I added that. I can show you a demo where I actually assigned it to a global variable that I have the parameter editor that can turn the knobs. And then as the robot runs, in this case, I can vary the distance between the sensors while the robot's running. So it's really cool. You turn the knob, and if you think about it, without the simulator, you'd have to stop the thing. You'd have to have some way of moving your sensors around to try some new idea. But in a particular time warp and a loop running around a little course, and now you can sit there and you can turn the knob on how far your sensors are. In the case of a traditional 2-spot sensor robot, you got a knob on it, and I'll demo that if time permits. Any other questions?
Cool.
Okay, silence. Okay.
Silence is golden. So it
Okay,
explains
so-
so well.
So I guess I shut up until we're going to sit down and then download processing and all that stuff.
Or jump
that
in.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As it makes sense.
Okay.
So, okay. So I'll give it a brief update here. So we have, we are behind the ball on setting up the contest and communicating it outward and publishing it. But to my informal count, there's probably 5 or maybe even 8 people who may very well do this LFS
Okay, cool.
competition. So I think I can count 5 at least. So we'll have that for sure on December 12th. Now, there's a couple of other contests which we had talked about. Oh, go ahead, Donna. Or you're on mute.
Oh, thank you,
Somebody's
Carl.
got a phone.
No, I didn't have anything right now.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought I saw the waving. I thought it was like, wait, don't run into the brick wall. Okay, sorry. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So on December 12th, a month from now, we'll have the regular monthly meeting, but it'll be a virtual contest, and we'll for sure have this line follower contest, and then we'll have one or maybe 2 more, and they are. I could probably pull up the sketch. Where do I have a sketch for this? Just give me a moment, and I think I can share the rough look of it. Just a second.
Okay, yeah.
Ahead of time. Okay, and okay, almost there. Boy, there's been so much going on. So I gotta have a DPRG board. We gotta try and have a call in the next few days to narrow down some details, but I think this is the way it's heading right now. And as soon as I can get it going, I will share it. Here, just the one. Waking up. Yes. All right. So let me hit the share button. Entire screen 3. Okay. All right. There we go. So line following simulator for sure we'll do it. We already have kind of draft rules, but I think they need to be updated and simplified and adapted to the current LFS 1.6 or so. And then the other 2 that we talked about doing earlier was Freestyle and Robo Columbus. And we have little interest in both of those, but because of COVID and such, I think they would anyhow both be done by video. And if there's only going to be like 2 participants, I was going to suggest that to the board that we just combine them and have just one freestyle, make it wide open, do something as simple as like a half-page or a 1-page checklist of parameters, and then just let the judges be subjective. Highest score wins. Something about interesting technology, interesting function, or fun. So just kind of a fun, simple contest. And so that's what we're looking about doing on the 12th
Carl, do I have audio?
Yes.
This is David, Carl. I'm just on audio today.
Okay.
I went out to a Seattle robotics contest some years ago. They had a freestyle competition like you're describing, and they, rather than putting it on the judges, they let the combined attendees vote.
Oh, nice.
Which kind of is a cool idea. Just everybody that's online, they weigh in on what they've observed.
I like that. All right. Yeah, because we can do that's well suited to online too. With the survey question tools we could mix in. That's perfect, Doug. Thank you.
Hey, Carl, I got a question for you on this
Yes.
document that you're sharing. So, is this something? Is this in the current state of this document? Is this something that's come out on the list in the email list distribution? I know there's been some rev.
No.
No.
Oh, it
No,
had,
this was way back on September 1st. We talked about it in one of the Tuesday night meetings. And we had then 4 different ideas, and there's been no action or activity on the course-based, plus it's in person. So I figured, this is my proposal, scrap it. I mean, because we'll be struggling just to get enough participants, I think, in these others. Well, 2 of these. So it hasn't been published yet, Donna, and that's my goal is to try and get a meetup placeholder scheduled in the next few days. So there's something to go know that it's coming, and then as soon as I can get the board or the Roborama committee here in DPRG to agree on something, drive a stake in the ground, then, and also prizes. I think we normally do prizes for contests. So given that we won't be in person, you know, there's a question of do we pull from the prize box, which I hope is still to Makerspace. I don't know, I haven't been there since March. Or do we get some gift certificates or something? So those are the questions I need to run past the board and the committee.
Right. One of the reasons I was asking that is I know myself, I'm interested in that freestyle contest. So, okay.
Oh, cool. Excellent.
So maybe what I would ask you to do, Carl.
Yep, sure.
Is, maybe email this out as the unofficial requirements or specs on what's going to happen for December 12th, and then clearly spec in the email that this is just a draft version, and then that way somebody like myself has got something in the meantime to reference. If that would work.
Thank you for that request and suggestion. Yep. And that'll fit in with my with the placeholder for the meetup. So yes, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's all I had to say about the contest, because it's in terms of concrete arrangements, it's no further than that at the moment, except for Ron's simulator, which is quite well advanced. So, yep. Now, Donna, you were saying, so before we go there, does anyone have any other thoughts or comments onto the idea for the December contest? No. Okay.
Are we gonna submit videos for the freestyle? Is that how that works?
Yes. I'll make a note of that. I would already do. Send a video of the robot doing something.
So what do we do with the video? Do we put it on YouTube?
Yeah, so we'll suggest YouTube, or just put it in a shared Google Drive, and allow us to post it in the DPRG clips, something like that. I think we can accept video in any number of different ways.
So posted to the DPRG clips, does that mean sending it to you?
Yeah, like if you have a Google Drive or a OneDrive or something like that, you would share a link to it where we could get a copy of it. And then Doug is, I think, the current keeper of DPRG clips. So we would post it up there.
What if I put it on my web server and then send the link to Doug? Would that work?
Sure, yeah. Anywhere in the cloud. Yep. Maybe, I mean, what should we do in there? For that one, should we just like ask for a brief story? Like, so we don't have to guess what we think is cool. The person who's presenting the video should have a brief.
Voiceover?
Sorry?
Have a voiceover on the video?
Yeah, a voiceover or just a, I don't know, 30-second summary or something of why the audience should find this super cool. Or maybe it's intrinsically obvious, but anyhow, we'll come up with something like that.
You know, sometimes depending on what it is, I wonder almost if a YouTube video, depending, because sometimes screen capture chokes a bit. But I guess how does that work when we're screen sharing? How does that work? How does content come across?
Well, suppose we just, if you uploaded it to YouTube, then at a certain time in the contest, the Master of Ceremonies instructs everyone to go to that YouTube link and all watch it together, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. That, I mean, just thinking about the difficulties, like for example, with LFS, when I was trying to illustrate some stuff, I think it was coming across not very well. And then when it was published up to YouTube, you know, it runs at 60 frames a second or whatever.
The only way I ever got it to work was I usually do this from my laptop, and I could run the video on my desktop and point the laptop camera at the desktop screen. And that worked fine. The frame rate was fine. Everybody could see it. The downside of that was that when anybody else talked, it went to their happy face.
Yeah, I like that recommendation.
But I think trying to play a video while presenting doesn't work.
Yeah, unless unless there's some kind of MC that can do the trick where it streams across with a good, like a camera streams across. Like if one of us had a good.
That's why I was suggesting if everybody would just watch the same YouTube at the same time, then they all have the full bandwidth of the YouTube. It may be that there are people here who have better equipment than me.
Yeah, no, I've been on meetups where that what you described is how it worked out well, because it's a least common denominator, right? Everybody can get to YouTube pretty much, even on your phone.
Yeah, a lot of this, guys, to do with the, you know, the lag and the delay time between, you know, what you're talking and showing local on your machine versus what's coming through, say, like on a meetup virtual event. A lot of that I've found personally is that a lot of that has to do with the platform that the meeting is being hosted on. So in other words, you know, in this case, you guys are using Google Meet, you know, and all that. But some of the platforms have got better delay latency times than what others do. I have no idea about what the characteristics of Google Meet, but I know some of them, you know, because there's so many platforms out there for these virtual meetings and events or conferences, you know, and a lot of the differences have to do you know, in a group or user choosing one platform to the other, specifically is to do with this characteristic that you guys are talking about. So that might be something for you guys, you know, depending on how long this COVID requires this type of you know, meetings and events to happen. That might be something that you guys might want to consider, is switching to a different platform. Now, I personally don't have a direct recommendation, but I'm just pointing out that latency you know, is an important factor on that.
Yeah, so I guess what you're saying is really this format is tailored to kind of keeping latency down, but at the expense of we can't afford to have me right now buffered for 5 seconds because it'll just screw everything up. Whereas with the YouTube, it could buffer for 5 or 10 seconds if it needed to, and you'd never know. But here, we'd know if
Yeah, right.
we needed
Yeah,
to.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So,
Is Kareem in this meeting?
Not today.
He had a email a few weeks ago. He went into very good detail about exactly where these problems arise, and it's too bad he's not here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I've also noticed some function on some of these where you get more and more participants, and I think the server requirements to mix all the participants together starts to become an issue as well.
mhm.
So I was on a Zoom with I think they had close to 60 people. It was like a magic show Zoom for a corporate event, and I don't know how the host was doing it, but it was the system was having a hard time of getting everybody mixed together. Well,
Well,
okay.
we use Zoom at work for all our meetings, and I haven't found that it's any better.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. Okay. All right. So moving on. So that's the DPRG contest things. And I think, Donna, you had some other thoughts either about the DPRG stuff, or you said some Seattle things coming up soon.
Well, let's see. So back to the December 12th DPRG contest. I've already asked my questions or made the comments that I wanted to on that. I think that sounds like a good plan for you guys going forward for this first run for you guys of a virtual contest. So in my view, I plan on participating. I don't know how many of the rest of my group will be, but as I mentioned at the beginning of this meeting today, I'll be putting the word out for some more emails for my group to encourage participation. And now, since I understand the inclusion also of freestyle, I'll be sure to include that as well. And I possibly will get some other heavy hitters from the SRS participating as well. So I think it all sounds great to me. Okay, and then as far as an update on the SRS side for a virtual contest, I've been kind of the spearhead on getting all that generated and started in our club as part of the planning committee. And so what we've decided to do is move forward for January 16th, which is our regular once a month meeting date for our club. And we currently use Microsoft Teams as our video platform. And so what we're going to do, and I'm going to be the hostess for this first run event, is we are going to have a physical, this is going to be something totally different than what you guys are doing, okay, in December. But I'm going to virtually have a physical robot run of a mini sumo contest. Now, in the SRS community, mini sumo is extremely popular. Every year for our normal once a year Robothon events, that is one of the best success number of entry contests that we've ever done. And so that's why mini sumo was specifically chosen for this. And so let me just give you guys just a real brief overview, and then I'll tell you about where all the details are online for this. But so we're going to use Microsoft Teams, and I'm going to run the event in my garage. I have in my possession, fortunately, I have the official contest hardware and processes for facilitating this contest. So in other words, there's a specific, ring structure or contest arena that's used for this. I have that. And I have part of the characteristics for qualification of a physical robot on this contest is that it has to adhere to a specific weight range and also sizing. So I've got all those materials at my disposal to actually orchestrate the event. And that's why I think I was chosen as the host for this, because I've got all of the hardware. Otherwise, all of our stuff is in storage. It's like you guys have your makerspace. We have another house kind of area where we keep everything. So that helps with the logistics. So in the garage that day, it's going to start. The event on January 16th is going to start at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Okay. And what's going to happen is that okay, let's see how best to describe this. So it's going to be a thing where hopefully I'm in the process now of recruiting robot builders to actually build their physical robot. And either we're going to have a drop-off location. This does not affect you guys because you're not in the area. But we're going to have a drop-off location, and then after the contest, a pickup location, date and time, for people to actually deliver me their physical robot in a safe COVID way. The other option, and this is where this kind of idea would come into play for you guys, is we could do a snail mail way of actually shipping the robots to me. And so once that I have all the robots gathered together, then I run through the formal process of qualifying the robots. So, I just kind of have like a little demo. This is what I'm envisioning for the actual contest itself. And then the fun starts as far as for all the qualified robots that we have what's called a double elimination method of running these sumo events. And so it's a physical combat then on the robot course surface for the actual bouts is what they're called in sumo space. And and all that happens real time, live, and then it's broadcast through Microsoft Teams platform for everyone to see and virtual participate in. So anybody have any questions as far as how all that part's going to work?
Donna, that's very impressive. I wish you great luck on it. I can say as a agenda that we held many sumo contests and regular size sumo contests for many years. We've got the steel rings and everything, and I can reinforce that important fact. They were always our most popular event. We actually had a Lego version that would have 50 screaming kids gathered around in the science museum. So those have always been very exciting. I'm glad you figured out a way to do it virtually, and I wish you great luck on it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's kind of cool, really. What it makes me think of, it's like you're sending your rover to Mars, and you're Mars. That idea is pretty awesome, really. Okay, it lands, and there it is to fight the other robots.
Well, I tell you, after months ago when I first started attending your guys' meetings on Tuesday evenings, I had broached the virtual contest idea to you guys. And I remember I talked about what we are actually going to do in January. I talked about that concept to you guys, and there were several of your members that adamantly said, no, that's not a good idea. You never want to physically handle as a as a third party. It's not a good idea to handle somebody else's robot. Because there's all those liability, and I mean, in a way, I could see what people were talking about, but the idea of sumo is so simplistic as far as the user controls, user interface, that's why our committee, SRS committee, decided to go with that. So I think we're going to be pretty safe on that score. If people have, special needs as far as they got a slightly different design or something like that, or shipping or delivering to me a spare package of batteries, or something like that, or wheel cleaning materials, special instructions.
Special care.
No. I mean, I've been participating in these contests for years. I've been watching them live, physical live contest runs, and that's what people do. Is they've got special equipment that they have literally on their side pit area, and they clean their wheels between each bout, and all this kind of stuff. So that's why I'm trying to take that kind of stuff into consideration for how people are going to want to actually have me run their bots. But anyway, so I think I'm hoping that that's going to be successful. As far as prizes are concerned for this first one, even though our club storage has several, techie type prizes left in our collection, we've decided for this first run, as far as just having like first, second, and third kind of thing for a emailable certificate of completion, or that you won first prize in this contest kind of thing, and then I'll be emailing them their prize. That's going to be the prize for this one. So to that end, this would be, I know that you guys in this club are not really all that familiar with sumo.
But we have a few members. Sorry to interrupt. We have a few members. I know Scott Gibson is. Oh, go ahead.
No. Please go ahead, Ron.
Oh, I know Scott Gibson is one member that comes to mind who's competed. I don't know how recently, but I know he competed when we were at the Perot Museum. He's,
He has at least a couple little sumo bots that he's
maybe he
going
would
around with them in the airports and such. And
I think they have to be stored in a humidity controlled environment. I think it might. And he would probably expect video from unboxing to reboxing. I'm just pulling your leg. Okay. I'll shut up. Where's my mute button? I'll put myself away.
Well, didn't Patrick have a bunch of kids that he would show up with at the sumo contest?
Oh yeah, because they would help coach the younger kids, and they themselves, I think, had participated in sumo. So it may well be, Donna, that if you could get us the information on that, I'll be happy to make sure it's shared around.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. So okay. So I guess I can put this over in the chat area as well.
Yeah.
But basically, if you guys go off of our contest specific website, which is called robothon.org, near the top, right underneath the tabbed banner on that site, you'll see a big glob of text there announcing the virtual event with a hyperlink. So it's when you click on that hyperlink, then you can go over. In fact, I'll get the specific URL for the details page here, and then I'll put that over in the chat as well. Okay, there. All right. So the detailed page is up here in the chat area. Okay. So I've got all the details. I mean, to me, I'm kind of a nut about documenting things. I guess I'm kind of a nut about multiple things, but I do love to document things clearly, and so I hope everything's in there that anybody would need.
Nice.
Especially if you're not even familiar with the contest. So off of there, I've got a separate page that our club maintains for our official rules. It's a great, even though anybody here that's on the meeting today, even if you guys have not actually built one of these robots before, it's a fun and challenging yet relatively easy type of robot to build a contest entry for. And so one of our old time members of the club, he wrote a book. I don't know if you guys can see this book or not. I'll go ahead and put this information in the chat as well. But anyway, he wrote a book. His name is Pete Miles. He's one of the local in the state of Washington, Pacific Northwest area, that helped to advocate the advancement of the sumo contests, robot contests, in the United States. Both Pete Miles and Bill Harrison. Those are two old-time names that if you guys do searches online for robot sumo, that you will likely see. And so Pete Miles wrote a book. This is a great how to get started about anything and everything that you need to know on competing in robot sumo. And it talks in detail about the sensors and the brain controller choices. It's a little bit dated. It doesn't have like Arduino or Raspberry Pi type of information in, but it's got good basic solid information, and it's got great detail about how to choose your appropriate, depending on the scale of robot that you're building that you're competing in for sumo. There's multiple scales. There's 3 kilogram, there's mini, and then there's some others. So this contest is specific to the mini category. And so he's got great detail in here about lots and lots of things. And so this is a great book. If you guys can still get a hold of it, you probably can, since it's quite old. It might even be a free copy out there on the web someplace in PDF.
Donna, I found it on Amazon, paperback, $24.
Okay.
In stock. I put a link in chat.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. So anyway, it's a great book. Yeah.
I know Pete Miles. He's been a SRS member for probably 25 or 30 years.
Exactly.
He's an expert in cutting things with a tiny high pressure stream of water.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. And he also was one of the early pioneers on the servo driven walking robots.
Oh, right. Yep. That's right. Yeah, the bipeds and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. He's a neat guy.
Yeah, exactly. So I've known these guys for years and years. So, so I hope that what I've talked through here makes sense, and that I've provided enough information. I would love to have you guys, all you guys here, participate, either just to watch the event on the 16th, or hopefully be able to build and then mail a robot, at least one robot entry for this. So I think that would be awesome. And I encourage all of you and all of your membership to participate. We would love to have you. Okay.
Well, thanks for the invitation. We'll see if we can spread that around and try and drum up some interest. I know I'm at least interested to observe. I'm going to be struggling to build anything right now, but.
Well, Donna, I know you had observed in the past that you thought you were kind of having to tug at the SRS membership to get them to build robots. And so this seems like a good tug in that direction.
Exactly.
And also for those who are not inclined to do so, I think our virtual contest might at least get some juices flowing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's right. Yeah.
Well, if there's enough interest, maybe I'll have to do a virtual sumo contest with real dynamics.
Oh boy!
Oh no!
Don't get them started. That's all it took right there.
It's getting hard to tell the difference between our group and a computer gaming group.
Oh no! Don't say that. What is it that Dave Ackley says? Wait a minute, he'll pipe up here. What do you say, Dave? I resemble that remark. That's what it is.
There you go. Okay, well, cool. Well, thank you, Donna. That's pretty neat stuff. So let's see where that goes. All right. So then, how about for phase 3? If we should move on, then phase 3 of this session. Show of hands or shouting out who who would like to install on the call here today and get going? Dave Ackley, excellent. Anyone else? I know Jean has it installed.
I'll do
I
it.
Ron's installed already.
I'll do it because
Donna, did you want to give it a shot here online, and we'll help you walk through it if you get stuck?
Well, no, actually, I'll just go ahead and take detailed notes as far as how you guys recommend doing that, and then do that offline. But actually,
Okay.
before we leave the contest, the DPRG contest idea, I wanted to ask, I'd seen off of one of your websites, the idea about non-members, somebody like myself, that we're required to submit $10 registration fee for any contest that we participate in. So what's going to happen as far as registration? You know, we've talked about some of the logistics on your guys' side for.
I vote no for this virtual contest.
I'll second that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I put
Now for
$1,000 worth of
But we
effort.
should probably talk about that Monday and then tell everybody on Tuesday
Yeah,
or
that's
in
yeah,
next
John.
release.
Okay.
Yeah, John,
okay.
John's on the board too, so he and I think the message is loud and clear, and John, you and I can carry that forward, and I think we can probably win that battle pretty easily because it's not worth the fee.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
also, what about a registration form? Like now on the SRS side, off of that page that I provided in the chat, I've got a form in there for all registrants to fill out.
Okay.
So that's something for you guys to think about for this virtual event. At least I would recommend it to include
we've used Google Forms in the past, and
Yep.
in practice, I mean, for the local event, it's been really, people just haven't filled out the form. They just show up and we pencil them in and life goes on.
Yeah.
But for this one, I'm sure we'll be pretty flexible, but I'll get thank you for that reminder. I'll get a form out there as well.
Okay,
After
great.
we nail down the contests.
Sure. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, great points. Thanks. It's very helpful to keep us honest and moving along. All right. Hey, so now, all right. So let's get started with Mr. Ackley then. So, Dave, are you ready to try and install? I was going to suggest to do this, if you wanted to share your screen, then we could just walk through and observe and speak up if you get stuck. We could tell you where to go, put the download links in the chat. And you're muted right now.
Oh, he's muted. Yeah.
There we go.
There
Okay.
you go.
All right. I'm not sure what's going to show up here. Let's just try. Oh, okay. It's giving me a choice. Here we go.
There you go. Perfect. Perfect.
Oh, okay. So do you have processing already up, Dave?
I don't know. Let me look around and see.
I'm going to
Okay.
step out for a moment. For anyone that would like to follow along, I just added in chat the URLs for processing and Ron's Git repo. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Disappeared. Your sketchbook folder no longer exists. Okay.
No problem. Show us, wait a minute, we're seeing right now the LFS GitHub page. You have multiple screens?
Yeah.
Okay, we're seeing the LFS GitHub.
Okay. Let's see if come on. Presenting.
Is this the LFS workshop time?
Yeah, now I guess the question I'd have is, I mean, I could demo the installation of processing, or we can follow you. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, I could probably simulate a virgin installation of processing so that things would go the way it would go for anybody. But
I would suggest doing that because For example, I think I have processing on mine, but I have like 1.06 or something. So I
Okay.
would suggest start to go from the beginning.
I mean, what do you think about that, Dave?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, not to try to take over,
That
but
works.
it's okay. And I might have some observations, but not necessarily. So I just have this feeling that I did play with it a little bit earlier, and even I didn't do it too cleanly. But if I go through it, it should be pretty good. So why don't we try that? And I'll always be happy. You know, we have so few people. I'm going to make sure no one gets hung up here. And so I'll be happy to work with really anybody in this group for sure. If anybody's getting hung up, because
I have
can always help other people.
the processing I have is 3.5.4.
That's pretty good. I think that
Oh,
might
that's
be
the
about the
latest.
most recent.
Yeah. I just installed
Yeah, it is the
while we
most
are
recent.
having meeting.
Is that
I
the most recent?
Yes.
Okay.
I got into trouble finding the library because I was like, okay, I'm gonna load the example. And it's
Okay.
saying, oh, library.
Yeah. I think I can probably be helpful. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Once I got that, it's working. But yeah, the library was one thing that
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
bumped
Yeah.
into.
So maybe for the fact that we're recording, I assume this is being recorded, and so people can watch it, whatever. So how about I take over, and I'll do a few steps that'll make sure that I don't have a sketches folder or anything, and so I should be able to do a pretty clean demo, and then we could go from there. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, so we could let Carl know. Carl, I'm
Hey.
taking over. No, I think I have a better chance at kind of doing a virgin-ish demo, sort of, maybe, of the download. So let me take over, and I'll show it. Just show it.
So basically, what we're going to do is do it by initial.
And also as a special. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And then after that, then we could fine tune the different peoples based on the what we see from the initial.
Sure.
I think that would be the best strategy.
Sure. And there'll be a little time to kill. Let me think. Oh, I'll have a little demo while we're waiting for processing to download. But I think I can download both. And let me just show that real quick, just for fun. And then it'll just take me a little bit of scrounging around. It won't take me long. Okay. So just for fun. Oh, somebody's got a microphone on that's making a lot of noise. Is that David?
David Anderson. I'm just going to mute you, David. So if you want to talk, you have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, I thought I was muted.
What is that, a raccoon? I mean, what's going on? No, I'm kidding. Okay.
Sounds like you're dragging the microphone across sandpaper.
Oh, hang on. I'm supposed to be grabbing this. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay.
Actually, I think it's hard for David to unmute on the phone.
Oh,
So I'm not going to mute him after all, I think.
okay.
You can go ahead and mute me.
We're having trouble. There you go. He's muted.
Oh, he
Okay.
got it. Okay, he's good.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're just for fun, like a 2-second aside, I said you could dynamically change. In this case, it's a 2-spot sensor robot. This is fun. Check this out. Okay, so the distance between the sensors is 2.9 inches. Now watch as I change it. The impact. So there it is at 6-inch spacing. And this is a real simple, like conventional line following robot. Anyway, just for fun, that was that. Okay, let me stop that. And processing is kind of nice in that, let's see. Let me get going here. Wait a sec. Real quick, what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and delete these things so we don't see any downloads. And what I've done is I find it kind of handy. This is my downloads folder, but I did create a shortcut to that, on the desktop. But you know what? Here it comes up pretty easily. And let's see what else. Oh, I'm just going to go and make sure that I'm going to delete processing. Oops,
Yeah, I guess we're on the the issue I have is I've got your, what is it? GitHub site, but I'm not sure which thing to get hold of.
Okay. Well, we'll get that. Okay, so I got rid of, let's see, I've got my sketches there. Let's see. Okay, I got rid of, I like to put, let me just get to the processing page here. Let's see.
So Dave, do you have GitHub, or I mean Git client on your machine, or you're muted, Dave?
I've got the GitHub, the GitHub Ron Grant LFS.
But I mean, are you up to speed on using Git the client, or no?
No.
Okay, then there's a different answer for you then.
Okay.
There's one way to do it if you're familiar with Git. There's another way if you're not familiar with Git. And it looks like we lost Ron. Is he no longer in the call, I think? I'll text him. I wonder if he knows he dropped off.
So for Dave, the files in there, there's an example folder, and there's a. So yeah, basically I have to go to the preference, set the library to, or copy the repo to your libraries.
Yeah.
Does it
So
make sense, guys? So that that LFS is in the library search path.
I think, Sean, it'll be easier when we can see the screen.
Okay,
We got Ron back. So let's
we
let
got
Ron
me
go.
back. Hang on, let me open another browser window. One sec.
You closed the wrong window.
Yeah, I'm an idiot.
Clean installation.
Anyway.
That's all right. I've done that several times at some of the meetings. I've had a couple windows open and then, oops, I just logged myself out.
Okay, getting there.
That's not as bad as closing the unsaved file. I don't know how many times I've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the older version of processing wouldn't prompt you to save. And that was a problem. Okay, so I'm presenting now, I take it? Yeah.
You got it. Yep.
Okay. Okay, anyway, great tutorials from Dan Schiffman. He's a real energetic, cool dude, and great stuff on YouTube and all that for processing. But again, if you played with the Arduino environment, let me shut my mouth and just let's get the download going here. Okay, so I've got a 64-bit Windows machine, and they would love to have some money, and they deserve it. So. But use it first and then make up your mind later. Okay, so now I'm downloading processing, and while that's happening, let's go to GitHub and we'll grab the LFS library so we can wait on the processing. And let's see. One of my problems is I'm not a touch typist and my keycaps are wearing off, but I hate to get a new keyboard. So did I get that right? Oh. Ron. Okay, here we go. Okay, so github.com/Ron-Grant /cap LFS gets you to the repository, and there's always little README stuff here. I'd probably move this, but for now it kind of says what some of the recent things I've done. But anyway, we're after the code, so let's get to the distribution folder. Oh, and by the way, all of this makes up the project that you could use in Eclipse to physically build the LFS library and all that. But for the sake of a user, let's just get the code. And so if we go to the distribution and click on the word distribution and not the file folder, go there. And now you'll see a whole bunch of releases. Pick the biggest number. Right now it's release 18. Click on that. And then come to download, click on that. And here you've got actually two identical zips, but just get the one with the number, I'd say. So if we click on that, it brings up this, and it's a little confusing, but if you look across the page, you'll see a download button. And I'm going to click there on the download. Am I going okay pace?
Well, I don't see the download.
Oh, hang on. Let's go. Let's see. Did you click on distribution and then line following sim 18? I can go back.
Okay, that's where I'm at. But I
Okay.
don't see the download part.
Okay, and you clicked on download?
No,
Okay, do that.
it's not, no. What I'm saying is that it doesn't show download as an
Oh,
option.
okay, let's go back. You see this with,
Ron, if we could just see what Dave is seeing, it might be easier.
oh, that's true.
No, well, okay. What I'm seeing is, in effect, click on the 18.
Okay. And now
Now that's what I see. Okay, now
click on that.
I see the download. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then when you get there, then finally click on
The
line
zip.
follower sim18.zip. Click on that one.
Okay.
And then it's kind of, you have to look across the page if you have a widescreen, and you'll see a download button to physically get that zip file.
Okay.
And click that, and then respond, yeah, okay, save it. And I assume it goes to my download directory by default. I think that's the standard.
Yep, I see it.
Okay, so now we got both of those proceeding.
Yep.
And so really what we can do is we're done with the browser. So you could minimize it, or I'll minimize it. Okay.
Okay.
So now I've got my download shortcut. So yeah, if you get to your downloads, then what'll happen is you'll see, once it's finally done, you'll see processing at about 129 megabytes. Okay, so now right click on that folder, or on the words, I guess, and then extract all.
Okay.
And of course you get this dialog, say extract.
Okay. Well,
And while that's happening, you could also extract, right click on line follower sim 18.
all right.
Say extract on that one too.
Or sim 18 all unpacked.
Okay, you got a fast machine. You're faster than me.
Yeah.
Okay, so once those two are done, okay, let's see. I guess I'm still waiting on processing. Okay, just for other people's whatever use. If you go here, you'll see that if you clicked in there, here's the actual folder for the distribution. And my preference is I like to put it in the root, but you could. There's other places you can stick it. But if you don't mind doing that, I guess you could just drag that folder to C. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and.
Well, actually, it turns out I've got that as a on my toolbar to just click and bring it up.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I right click and said cut, let's see, or yeah, and now I'm going to right click and say paste. So I just put it in the C root, and there it is. And now we can go ahead and we can click on that folder to open it. And I think what I want to do here is I'll right click on the processing.exe
Yeah.
and go ahead and create a shortcut just for fun to that. You could also pin it to the start or do other things, but I'm just going to create a shortcut and drag that to the desktop.
Right.
Okay, for now.
Yep.
Okay, so with that done, let's go ahead and double click on processing.
Yep.
And if it's a new installation, well, hang on, we'll get there. In my case, there's no sketchbook visible. You might get a similar response, but what we're going to do is it wants to create a sketchbook which you can accept. Oh, so anyway, okay, I'm dragging things off the screen. I fired up processing by clicking on it.
Yep.
And now I'll go to the file preferences. And then from there, I keep having to drag things. I'm not on my default screen. So anyway, I clicked on that, preferences shows up. And what I like to do, maybe I'm stupid. I don't accept their default. I like to put it in C, but you can accept their default if you want. and in which case you probably want to find that sketchbook location and peg that on your desktop as a shortcut. But for now, I'm going to make it simple, and I'm going to turn this into C:\sketches.
Okay.
Just to make it easy, and then say OK. And now we'll open up our browser. Hang on, I'm just going to click on this. And we'll go to C, and there it is. So it's created this folder called Sketches, and in here is a number of things. Your sketches will show up here, and there's other folders, including one that's very interesting to us called Libraries. But let me, we'll just leave that up. I'll leave that, that view visible. But I'm going to come back here, and I want to download a sound library that's needed for LFS. And the way we do that from processing, and there's a lot of other libraries too that are available, really cool stuff. I'm going to go to Sketch, and then come down to Import Library, and then I'm going to add a library. And now I'm going to click, and now up will come a contribution manager. And I'm looking for sound, so I'll type that in the search, S-O-U-N, probably, let's say S-O-U-N-D, you might get it. Okay, here's the library I want. And so now I'm going to install that. And this will install this into the Sketches library folder, and we'll show you that. But anyway, we'll let that make its progress there. And it's installing. And so now, just for fun, looking at the Sketches folder, if we look in Libraries, voila, there's sound. It's been installed. I'd like something as clean for LFS, but I haven't contacted the processing folks yet. So unfortunately, we got to do a few more steps for us, for LFS. Okay, so we're done with this contribution manager. I'll close that box. And now, what I want to do is
Hold tight for a second there. So,
go ahead,
Mr. Ackley, are you keeping up with that? Do you have sound on yet?
Not quite up with that, but hang on.
Okay, yeah. Sorry for racing ahead.
Let's give you a chance to catch up and make sure you got it running.
Okay.
I can repeat, Dave.
Okay, now let me tell you what I've got so far.
Okay.
I have your download the zip file, opened it. It has, what is it, 5 different things in there that I've stuck over in Sketches.
Okay, let's hold on. Okay, so when you talk about, you mean the line follower zip?
Yes.
Okay, actually, we're not. Okay, so this is the folder we want to move.
In source.
Huh?
There's the 5 things that are in there.
Oh, okay, yeah. So what we're going to do with this,
yep,
yeah, is I'm just going to take that folder called line follower sim. So if you're seeing its contents, go up a level.
Okay.
And what I want you to do is, well, right now I'm in the downloads, but I'm going to go ahead and right-click on it and say copy. And now I'm going to catch up with you. I'm going to come to the Sketches folder. Let's see. So to do that, in my case, I'm going to go to C Sketches.
Yeah.
Okay. And so here's where you are, but you've got, what I want you to do is I want you to drag that into Libraries. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to now paste it into Libraries because I put it on the clipboard. So now this is what we should have in Libraries.
Okay, just a second.
Okay, take your time. Yeah, just drag it on in.
Okay. Just a second. So you're saying I need to have a folder in Sketches called Libraries?
Yeah. Oh, did you have that or not?
Second. Let me go back a step here. What I did was I took this set that you have here, okay, which is libraries, examples, okay. All right. All right, in the unzip file, I've got a libraries.
Okay, one sec. Oh, you may be in the wrong place. Okay. We want to be in sketches because processing itself, let me go there. Hang on, let's look at what it looks like. Okay, processing itself. Okay, I'm going to click into this.
Yeah.
Okay, now we don't want to be here. But come to think of it, that doesn't have libraries either. Okay, hang on. So where is your sketches folder?
Okay,
Can David share your screen? Like,
okay,
good.
my sketches folder where it installed things was under user, Dave,
Okay,
etc.
okay. Well, in that case, if that's where your sketches is located, within that sketches will be libraries. And that's where we need to paste line follower sim.
Okay. Sketches location, examples, libraries, modes, templates, tools. Yes.
Oh, okay, hang on, let's go back to what you're doing.
In other words, I've opened up Sketchbook location.
Right.
And it says processes, and then looking in processing, and it shows examples, libraries, modes, templates, and tools.
Oh, hang on. Okay. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Hang on. Well, I'm a little confused. What if you go to File, Preferences?
That's okay. That's what I want to do.
Okay, and then the first thing there is the thing we care about. That's called your sketchbook location.
Yep.
Okay, well, okay, so that's some other arbitrary place. That's okay. You can browse to that location.
Okay. I see yeah, just a second.
Okay.
I see what the issue here is.
Okay.
Okay. There we go.
And I'm thinking.
Yeah. Now I'm back over to the folder that's called Sketches.
Okay.
That's on my, actually I put it on my data drive, but that's all right, instead of the C drive.
Okay, okay. Now, I guess this, just as I'm explaining here, this where I browsed here, I think this is going to be a limited dialogue. We do need to get to it probably from the whatever you call the file explorer, whatever you call that.
Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, maybe it would be good to see your screen.
Okay. Well, right now you're presenting.
Oh, I'll quit. Okay, stop. Okay.
Present now. Oops, come on. A window. And let me pick the right one here.
Yeah, because you had an existing sketchbook, that's a problem. I mean, okay.
Same to everyone, but I don't see what I'm presenting.
You are presenting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't matter if
screen
you
is
can
being
see
shared, David. It's good.
Yeah. Now, tell you what, before you get too far down the pike, what if we, well, go ahead. If you can navigate to your sketch, where your sketches are, that's great.
Oh, are you seeing?
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's under D? Okay, you're there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what I see is it's empty. So what I want to do is, can you just go ahead and leave this window up and go ahead and get back to processing and get back, you can leave that window visible, but get scoot it a little bit and then get processing up. So we can go ahead and set the sketch folder to D sketches.
Okay, I've got it set to that.
Oh, okay. So, okay, click in libraries.
Okay.
or double click, whatever you do to open it.
Well, okay,
Can you double click on libraries? Yeah.
there we go, library.
Okay. So what we need to do is we need to get back to processing and make sure we get sound loaded, and we need to make sure this is really where your sketches are going to go.
Okay.
So you can leave that window up, but just move it if you need to move it. But get processing back up.
I got processing up.
Okay. Oh, it's got to be on your presenting screen. Drag it over for us.
Well, that's.
I think David is presenting a window.
Okay.
Yeah, but is he just presenting a window instead of a screen?
Yeah, but basically, it's a sketch import library.
Yeah. Entire screen. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, hang on. We haven't seen it yet, but
Okay. There we go.
Nice.
very good. Okay, now, yeah. How about File and then go to Preferences, and let's see what you're really set up for here.
You see me move my mouse now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. The thing is I see you all on one screen and the
Sure.
screen appearing on the other. Okay. I'm in the sketches.
Yeah. So go to File and then Properties. Preferences. Sorry, Preferences.
Yep. That's
Okay. And that does look good. So it's D : sketches. It's hard to read, but it looks good. Okay, you know what? If I pin your thing, I think it gets bigger. Yeah, now I can read better. Okay, so that's good. Say okay to that. And let's have you install the sound library. So go to Sketch
okay.
on the processing.
Yep.
Okay. Sketch, and then click on that.
Yep.
And then go to Import Library.
Okay.
And then go to move over to Add Library, click.
Yeah.
Okay, and it should come up with a dialog here in a sec. Okay, type in on the filter, just type sound. Perfect. Okay, now go down and click on the sound library entry about 6 items down.
There's this one.
Yep, perfect. And now to install that, just, click install.
Okay. Yep.
Super. Okay, you can close that contribution manager window.
Okay.
Oh, and notice over on your left pane, it did put sound in that libraries folder. Super cool.
Yep.
Okay, what you could do is maybe click on the lower browser window and get to your downloads. You could leave that one, intact. Yeah. Go to downloads.
Well, in fact, that's what I've got here.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay. Let's get to the. Why not click on line follower sim 18? Wait a minute. I'm a little puzzled. One sec.
Yeah, the direction name.
Yeah, wait a minute. Click on line follower sim 18. We should have just a folder named line follower sim.
Let's go back up here to the downloads.
Okay, good idea. Okay, yeah. So that one, is it unpacked somewhere? Yeah, extract all.
Right. And let's see, where do we
Yeah,
want?
that's good. You can put it right there. Let's just do it right there.
Okay.
Okay, now click on that. I think there's a folder within it. No, I'm wrong. Okay. Okay, go up a level, and we're going to just copy that folder. Yeah, go up one level. Yeah, right click on that puppy.
Okay.
And then you could copy it, I guess.
Well, it'll copy it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Perfect. Okay, you're all set there. Now you can close out your file manager stuff.
Which I've got all sorts of.
Yeah. Okay, now go ahead and go. I think we'll see if it's there. We may have to restart processing. Let's try it. Go File, and then go Example. and we'll find out if they've improved this or not. It should bring up a dialog. Scroll down and see if we've got followers.
Can you see the dialogue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scroll down.
Yep.
And okay, it's not there yet. Okay, go ahead and close processing and restart it, and it'll repopulate that. Yeah, so it's contributed libraries get installed right away, but this it has to restart to see it. Okay, now go File, Examples.
Yep.
Okay, right. Now scroll down. And we should have line follower sim. Wait a minute. Oh, contributed libraries. Okay, down, it might have been there. Expand contributed libraries. There's a little plus, yeah.
There it is.
And there it is. Now you can expand that one. And there's all our demos. Go ahead and click on, let's click on SimpleBot.
Okay.
Simplebot rocks. That's a good one.
Yeah,
Double click. Oh yeah, there you go.
there you go. Okay, now press run, the triangle button on the, yeah, there's the whole beast. Okay, yeah, press the triangle. Oh, sorry, below, there you go. Yeah, to the left, there you go.
My machine takes 10 seconds from that.
Okay,
Now let me put it over there to where you can see it. There we are.
super, okay. Yeah, click on the start line down there. If you click within the purple circle, it'll line it up.
Which?
There you go, left click, perfect. Okay, now press go over on the left. Great, now time warp the puppy. Click on time warp a couple lines above. There you go. Boom, done. Okay, it ran 3 laps of that course in probably a second, but it took 2 minutes. 2 minutes run time. Okay, so you're all good to go. Now, the big thing is what we want to do is we want to save this and not in the examples folder. So go ahead and close this app. Yeah, close that right there.
Okay.
And now we're going to save this sketch to a new name, which is going to be, you know, your robot, but it'll be a copy of this sketch. So if we do save as.
Okay. Save as.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the preference is, yeah, we don't want to go to examples. So the best way to get there is if we go to this PC or, and then pick your D drive, I guess in your case. We need to get to the sketches folder. And there may be an easier way to do this, but this is, and anyway. Okay, and then go ahead and rename SimpleBot. Let's call it DaveBot.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe LFS _ DaveBot. That'll keep it clear that it is an LFS program, but it's not. It won't be SimpleBot for much longer. Or whatever you would like to name it. Okay, so now, yeah, save, great. And so now the program, of course you have all your examples, but go ahead and close that and let's do a file, and we'll actually ask to see the sketchbook, which is the 4th option.
Okay. Well, it's also
It's also in the recents, yes. But your sketchbook, if you click that, it'll show you all your sketches, which right now is just that sketch. There it is. Okay, great. Okay, you can close that.
Yep.
So you're rocking. You're ready to go. And one thing I do request, I got mad at Chris. He's done all this wicked work, and he runs half the advanced course. You've got to go into user init and change that robot name. I don't like seeing my name. So click on the user init notebook tab over on the far right.
Second one from the right.
Yeah, there you go. Second from the right.
okay.
Perfect. Scroll down and look for where my horrible name is. There it is. Line 37.
37. Yep.
Yeah, put Dave Ackley in there.
Okay.
And I guess it can still be SimpleBot for now until you've made your mods. But maybe we should heck with it. Let's call it DaveBot. So yeah, get rid of Grant. And why not call it DaveBot? It's nice. Then the cool thing is that matches up, or Dave's bot. That matches up then with the name of your program, and that helps clue you in. Also, if you create multiples of these, I'd highly recommend, making the program name the same as the robot name. Perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and save that. So go up to File, Save, and just hit Save or Control S. That's good. Bingo. Now let's run it and make sure everything happened that we need to have happen. Oh, and we'll need your initials in the robot too, but we'll do that later.
Okay. Let me bring it back over here.
Okay.
Whoop. Parked the wrong one over.
Okay, so now we got Dave Ackley. Great. I did blow it, and I missed the space between first and last name, but hey, it can't be perfect. Perfect. Okay. So you're up and running.
I can go back in and put the space in.
Yeah, that's true. You can fake the space. So anyway, you're up and running.
Nice.
And your robot is following the course. Now, the big trick is, and it warps. Now, select the club course under Course Select down there near the bottom. Yeah, it might take a couple of clicks on that to bring, it may take a little bit to load. Yours is, we're working with a super fast computer, that's right. Yeah, click it again.
Sorry.
Okay, it'll run that one. That's too easy. Now go ahead again. That one's too easy, I think. No, it may not work that one, but let's bring up, okay. Go ahead and click on the start line and let her rip. Oh, and you did drag it, but to actually physically get it to be there, you do need to click on that on the circle. Yeah, a slight difference there.
All right.
Yeah, it always goes to the last clicked location. Now you're already set up for time warp, so you can watch it fail in style. Go ahead. Now you got a little problem. Everything was good until you got to that acute angle, but apparently your robot's too dumb to know how to handle that. So you are going to have to write some code.
Okay.
But, and again, the thing you can do is if you get bored with it, remember you can always use the time warp to take you to the marker. And the way you do that is if you click on your start place, or you can right now, since it's the last place you clicked, you can just press go marker and it'll go to that marker that's already there, waiting for your acute angle work to happen.
Where's?
Oh, go marker's on the far right, sorry, of the buttons.
Oh.
At the bottom, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's go, okay. But yeah, go marker is over on the right. So yeah, go ahead, there you go. Try clicking on go marker. Sorry, third column.
Third column.
Yeah, third column of buttons at the very bottom, go marker.
No, it says controller.
Oh, third column, sorry. There you go. Bang. Okay, so that's an example where instantly it goes. And at that point, you could unfreeze it, or you could press a digit like 5 or 4 or 3 and it'll go slow.
That's the speed. 5, 4, 3.
Yeah, there you go. So now we're watching it.
0 is single step, and then
Yeah,
1
0 is
through
single
9
step.
make it
9
go
is
faster.
And I did bias it toward the slower speed because when you want it slow, you want it slow. And when you want it fast, you want it fast.
Yeah. Okay. But for some reason, it doesn't want to.
Oh,
There we go.
oh, and the reason, okay, for that, it's a little confusing maybe, is if we look up at the top, yeah, so it's running there, you can freeze it with space bar, and then you can, or you could stop it. But if you run it with let's say, the go marker, try that again.
Okay.
It might be confusing. Oops.
Let's try 0. Okay.
Oh, so now, oh, and I'll tell you what, if you look at the top of the screen, you do see feedback
Yeah.
for your speeds.
Okay.
It's a little, I know it's a little weird because the thing about it is you have all those speeds, but 0 is the one that's single step. And the cool thing is you can just keep hammering 0 and it takes one step at a time. But most of them are boring, yeah, except speed 9, then it cooks.
Okay.
You have to play with it probably to get a feel for it.
Yep. Okay.
And oh, another thing again is all those buttons, when you hover over them, they usually give you a little comment on what they're about.
Okay.
So down at the bottom, there's that hint.
Yep.
Oh, hey, thanks, Donna. Looks like
Guys.
she's taking. Hey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was a
Cool.
fun meeting.
Great. We had fun too. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Look forward to trading mails and meeting the next time, Donna.
You betcha. Okay. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for getting me set up here.
Cool. I know it's not Python.
So Dave, you got just 3 files now, right? You got the init that defines the robot. You got the reset that puts it back in initial conditions, and you got the controller user con that defines how it behaves.
Yep.
Yeah, and then from there it's optional stuff, really.
Yep.
And in fact, in the con, there's commentation there, or there's information there about how to get stuff on the user panels and stuff. So you don't have to dig into that. You don't need to write your own key codes. You know, you don't need a lot of it. Now, but one that's nice is when you get into it, the UPAR, click on that one, that tab called UPAR.
Yep.
And if you scroll down a little bit, and I'm sorry, it's a little bit because of the way the Java is and the way I implemented it, your parameters, like for example, KP, now that sets the proportional gain in the controller that you'll see in your controller, at least for now, for this rendition. But this is an example of how to define your own knob in the program. And we'll play with that in a second, but I'm sorry you have to mention the variable name 3 times, 1 in quotes, and you don't need that one actually. But anyway, so that's the format, and what it is that the 10 there that's the default, and then the range is from 0 to 100, and you'll see some comments in there that talk about that. But just for fun, go ahead and start the program again, and we'll show you how to get to the parameter editor. And then we'll cut this, we'll call this a day. Okay, so to bring the parameter editor up, there's a hotkey P, but if you see it on the button panel, look on the 3rd column near the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, press that.
Yeah.
Okay, and now there's your parameters, and you may have to page up or down. That only shows 5 at a time, but you can change, like right now, change the opacity on the icon. And the way you do that is, if you grab it and drag, then it'll change. And if you grab the end of the bar, it'll track with you easier. So now you're making the icon fade out.
Okay.
So that's an example of real time being able to mess around with parameters, kind of fun. And there's our KP right there is the next item.
Yeah.
And if you change something and you want it to go back to the default in your program, you just press Control D while you're hovering over it, and it'll reset it. Sorry, there's not a click for it. It's a hotkey only.
Try changing it.
Yeah, then if you have to be on it, light it up with the mouse, and then if you press Control D while it's lit up, let go of the mouse. There you go. There it went back. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Great. And unfortunately, with this, you can save the parameters, but only to a single name. So if you do a Control S, it'll write your parameters out, and then you can go fish those out of the data folder But sorry, there's no automated means of updating your defaults or any of that. So it's kind of a simple facility, but it does its job.
All right. Well, thank you for getting me started here.
Hey, cool.
That's awesome. Another contestant. That's excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Well,
do let me know. Oh, hey, Jean. Yes.
yeah, if I want to plot the profile of what the sensor sees, see now, right now, I can see that red color, meaning, well, the pixels with certain, I guess,
Yes.
certain value, right? So, is there a way I can plot a profile of that that dot? Like X is the dot number, the pixel number.
Yes.
Y is the intensity.
Okay. Did you want to export the data or something like that, or?
Well, yeah, that's one way. But if it can show in that robot view, that's even better. I can just
Okay.
use it.
Well, let's tell you what. If Dave will let me present, we'll look at the code, and I just figured it'd be easier for me to show you
Yeah.
than Dave. Okay. And I hope, let's see, 1 sec. I just make sure I've got my sketches. 1 sec. Just 1 second here. I'll be right with you. I'm just populating my sketches folder. 1 sec. Next. Okay, let's see. I'll present. Coming up. Oh, I don't want to. Anyway. Oops. Oh, Ron. Oh, by the way, when processing comes up, it does load like a second window when you load your file. You can always close that one. Let's see. Oops. Oh, 1 sec. I don't have my library online. Hang on. I guess I was in the process of doing that.
Yeah, setting up.
Yeah, 1 sec. I'll get that done. Sketches, libraries. Oh, no, it's there. Wait a sec. Uh-oh. 1 second. Samples, libraries. I hear crowd cheers. Wait a minute. Sketchbook. Wait a minute.
Sound effects are a really nice touch there, Ron.
You could. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a sec. Oh, that's weird. I've got a strange thing. Wait a minute. Oh, 1 second. Have I created something I don't understand? Sketches, libraries. Okay, I've got a puzzle. Wait a minute. No, that's correct. Wait a minute. That's correct. It's
Maybe exit, start again or something.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Very good, John. Yeah. Thank you. Duh. Yeah. I need to. You're a quick study, man. some obscure
Usually
detail.
with software, it won't. I mean, it is there. The software, the library is there.
Yeah, I had to restart the program. Okay, I forgot. You know, it's rare that I install this. So anyway, okay. So now let's open, and we should be good. Simple bot. Let's see, bring it back over here. Everything keeps jumped in my main screen, but anyway. Oh, and I don't even really need to run it to show you, I guess. Well, let's just make sure. Oh, good. Okay, it's all good. Oh, and so by the way, here, notice that if the controller isn't enabled, the sensors aren't updated. So the controller does need to be on, And if your robot wants to fight you, you can always freeze it with the space bar. But now, oh, I'm wrong. Wait a minute. Oh no, it doesn't.
Freeze allow updating. Freeze allow updating, right?
Yeah, wait a sec. Okay, this is something why I want to change this. Okay, the problem we have right now is the simulator isn't taking any steps. So we don't get any update of our sensors, and there is a way to fix this. But okay, let's skip that for the moment because